The Unyielding Heir Chapter 3. Dinner at Blackwood. The grand dining hall of Blackwood Manor felt less like a room and more like a throne chamber. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light over the long mahogany table set for two at one end. An intimate arrangement that somehow made the vast space feel even more imposing. Silver candelabras flickered, and the fire in the massive hearth crackled with quiet authority. Everything about the setting spoke of controlled opulence, of a man who dictated every detail of his domain. Elena paused in the doorway at precisely 8 o'clock, smoothing the front of the simple black dress she had packed for client dinners. Professional, elegant, but not overly yielding. She refused to let him think she had dressed to impress. Alexander was already there, standing by the fireplace with a glass of amber liquid in hand. He wore a crisp white shirt, open at the collar, sleeves rolled once to reveal strong forearms, paired with tailored black trousers. No jacket, no tie, a deliberate shift from the boardroom armor into something more dangerously relaxed. When he turned, his gaze swept over her slowly, possessively, as though cataloging every inch. "You're punctual," he said, voice low and approving. "I like that." "Professional," Elena corrected, stepping fully into the room. "There's a difference." A faint smirk touched his lips as he gestured to the table. "Sit." Again, not a request. She moved to the chair he indicated, the one beside his at the head of the table. Not across, close, intimate, strategic. A uniformed server appeared silently, pouring deep red wine into crystal glasses before presenting the first course, seared scallops with a citrus reduction. The staff vanished as quietly as they had arrived, leaving them alone. For a moment, only the soft clink of silverware broke the silence. Elena tasted the wine, rich, bold, expensive, and weighted. She knew men like Alexander preferred to set the rhythm of any encounter. Finally, he spoke. "Your presentation today was bold. Some might say reckless, some might say honest," she countered, meeting his eyes. "You hired me to tell you the truth, not to flatter your ego." His gaze darkened with something that could have been irritation or intrigue. "And what is the truth about me, Miss Harper?" "I'm curious to hear your expert analysis." Elena set down her fork. "You're brilliant, ruthlessly efficient when it suits you. But you surround yourself with people who are afraid to challenge you, and that's creating blind spots. Blackwood isn't invincible, no matter how much you want it to be." He leaned back slightly, studying her with that unnerving intensity. "You think I fear challenge? I think you haven't had a real one in years." The words hung between them. Alexander's fingers tightened almost imperceptibly around the stem of his glass. Then, slowly, he smiled. Not warm, but dangerously amused. "You're wrong," he said quietly. "I thrive on challenge. I simply choose which ones are worth my time." "And am I worth your time, Mr. Voss?" The question was meant to be professional defiance, but the moment it left her lips, the air shifted. His eyes locked onto hers, unblinking. "Yes," he said, the single word laced with unmistakable intent. "You are." Heat flared low in her stomach, unwelcome and undeniable. She reached for her wine to buy a moment, but his next words stopped her. "Tell me something, Elena." He used her first name deliberately, testing it on his tongue like a claim. "Why accept this dinner? You could have refused, insisted on boundaries, yet here you are." She lifted her chin. "Because retreating would mean admitting you intimidate me. And you don't, liar," he murmured, voice velvet and steel. "I intimidate everyone. The difference is you enjoy it." Her breath caught. He was too close to the truth, close enough to make her pulse race. She forced a cool smile. Projecting, perhaps. Alexander leaned forward, elbows on the table, closing the distance between them. "I don't project. I observe. And I observe that you push back harder than anyone I've met in years. It's stimulating." The server returned briefly to clear plates and served the main course, perfectly grilled filet with a truffle reduction. then disappeared again. Elena used the interruption to regain composure. Stimulation isn't the goal here, she said. Results are. He cut into a steak with precise movements. Results require trust. Do you trust me to implement your recommendations wisely? No, she admitted frankly. Not yet. Good, he said, surprising her. Trust should be earned, just as respect should be. Their eyes met again, and this time the silence stretched longer, charged with something deeper than business rivalry. The fire popped in the hearth. Outside, rain began to tap against the tall windows. Alexander set down his knife and reached for the wine bottle, refilling her glass before his own. His fingers brushed hers as he withdrew, deliberate this time, lingering a fraction too long. Tell me about you, he said suddenly. Beyond the resume. What drives a woman like you to dismantle empires for a living? Elena hesitated. Personal questions were dangerous territory, but something in his tone, genuine curiosity beneath the command, made her answer. I like fixing broken things, she said, and I hate waste, inefficiency, complacency. Admirable. He tilted his head. But lonely work, I imagine. The observation landed closer than she liked. I manage. You don't strike me as a woman who settles for managing. His voice dropped. You strike me as a woman who wants to be consumed by something, someone worth surrendering to. Her forks stilled. The words were too intimate to knowing. She met his gaze head on. And you strike me as a man who mistakes control for connection. A beat of silence. Then, quietly, perhaps. The admission was so unexpected that Elena felt the ground shift beneath her carefully constructed defenses. For the first time, the aloof mask slipped, just a fraction, revealing something raw beneath. He rose abruptly, extending a hand. Walk with me. Again, not a question, but this time, she took his hand. His grip was warm, firm, possessive, as he led her from the dining hall into the adjoining conservatory. A glass-domed space filled with night-blooming jasmine and the steady rhythm of rain overhead. He released her only to open the doors to the terrace, letting cool, damp air rush in. They stood, side by side, looking out over the darkened grounds. Lightning flickered in the distance. I don't mistake control for connection, he said at last, voice barely audible over the rain. But I've learned that true connection requires surrender, and surrender requires strength. Elena turned to him. Whose surrender? Alexander. Yours or mine? His eyes gleamed in the low light. That, he said softly, stepping closer until she could feel the heat of him, is what we're going to find out. He didn't touch her again. He didn't need to. The promise hung between them, like the storm outside, inevitable, electric, and just beginning to break.